If you've been tracking the retail leaks for Grand Theft Auto 6, the number $124 with 19 cents is probably going to be burned into your brain. Why? It's pretty specific, right? Pretty ugly number. It's also likely the new reality for one of the tiers for this title. For years, we debated the jump from $60 to $70. Hell, I remember when it was 50. But Rockstar isn't interested in incremental steps. No, no, no. They're testing price elasticity. They know that for a subset of the 200 million people who bought Grand Theft Auto 5, the price is irrelevant. But this isn't just about one game. It's about a wider industry shift where the standard edition is being repositioned as a premium luxury. Today, we're looking at the fallout of that shift, Sony shuttering Bluepoint Games after a failed live service pivot, and the leaked finalized specs for the Xbox Magnus. Yeah, a machine that effectively ends the era of the $500 console. Let's look at Bluepoint Studios' closure. On paper, honestly, it makes zero sense. Bluepoint was arguably the most efficient studio in Sony's stable. They just posted grand numbers, boasting how they've made more money during the PlayStation 5 generation than any other generation. And here they are, shuttering one of their best studios down. They delivered Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, games that looked and performed better than projects with triple the budget. The reality of this closure is something that has to be studied in corporate mismanagement. According to internal reports, Sony leadership pushed Bluepoint away from their core competency, rebuilding legacy IP, and into developing some kind of live service God of War spinoff. Now, this is the live service rot in real time. Remember High Guard? Yeah, me neither. Remember Concord? Oh yeah, that was Sony also. You take a studio known for technical precision, single-player atmosphere, and force them into a genre that requires an entirely different set of tools and creative philosophy. And lo and behold, when the project misses its internal milestones, Sony didn't see that studio as something that should be saved. They saw a high-cost asset that wasn't producing recurring revenue. Closing Bluepoint isn't just a loss of 70 to 100 jobs. It's the loss of the best technical janitors that Sony had. If Sony can't find a way to make a studio like Bluepoint profitable, the prestige PlayStation era, that's officially over. And you know what? While Sony is trimming the fat, Microsoft is preparing to launch the most expensive gamble in console history. The Project Magnus leaks are now essentially finalized. We're looking at custom Zen 6 CPUs and an RDNA GPU with a dedicated neural processing unit. The inclusion of this NPU, man, that is going to be the key, because Microsoft is moving away from raw rasterization. What does that mean? It means the goal for Magnus isn't just native 4K, it's 4K path tracing by upscaling, basically a console-bound version of DLSS 4.0. But here is the hardware's bottlenecks. GDDR7 memory. To hit the bandwidth targets required for this, Microsoft is reportedly using 32 gigabytes to 48 gigabytes of GDDR7 RAM. That component alone drives this bill up, baby boys. Guess what's going on right now? That's right, Ramageddon. And that's going to make this cost well over $500. Retailers are being told to prepare for at least a $799 base model. That was what I thought this new Steam machine would go for, by the way. Microsoft is no longer trying to win a price war with the PlayStation 6. They're done competing. They're going to carve their own niche. They're building a luxury hybrid. It's a PC in a box that runs a curated version of Windows, which is a bold technical achievement, honestly. But it asks a fundamental question, right? Who is this for? At $800 with no exclusives, you're only $200 away from a mid to high tier do it yourself PC that isn't locked into proprietary ecosystems. Microsoft is betting that you Xbox heads will value convenience and that is worth $300 premium over the last generation with no exclusives. Now, if you want to see what a functional gaming company looks like in 2026, we have to go to Osaka. Yeah, that's Capcom. Capcom is currently the only major publisher operating with the games first philosophy that actually scales. Resident Evil 9 Requiem is out in a few days. It's a massive 70 gigabyte single player horror game. No battle pass, no always online requirement, no $125 base price. And the internal roadmap leaked alongside it shows they aren't slowing down. We have a Code Veronica remake slated for 2027, and Resident Evil 10, likely a series reboot, is targeted for 2030. Capcom found the middle of the ground. They use a highly efficient internal engine, RE engine. They reuse the assets intelligently. They focus on demographic that actually buys games on day one, while Sony and Microsoft are chasing $800 hardware and $300 million live service gambles that fail. Capcom is making a killing by simply making video games for gamers. What a radical concept in 2026. The industry is splitting in two. On one side, you have the $800 super consoles and $125 A-list titles that treat the player as a high net worth individual. And on the other side, you have legacy publishers like Capcom and the indie sector trying to maintain that $60 to $70 standard. Hell, the game of the year was Clair Obscur, a double A $60 title. Or was it 50? Now, we want to know if the era of affordable mid-range hobbies is dying, and it's looking close to that. You're either in it for the $1,000 investment off the rip, or you're going to be left behind by the hardware curve. And the thing is that you can't even wait 2 or 3 years anymore and say, oh, it's going to get cheaper, because it hasn't. I am curious to see where you all land on this. Is the Xbox Magnus dead on arrival if it's $800? Or is the performance jump enough for you to justify the cost? And what do you think about the closure of Bluepoint? Does that signal the end of the remake bubble? Let's discuss that in the comments. I am reading everything. We are here at Star Flag Media Gaming. This was your midnight update. I'll see you in the next video. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We are on our way to 5,000 subs. Peace!